What a night. What a night. We have a full house here at Variety Sports Network for the return of the Five Hole. Your NHL show got Brandon, Aaron, Jerry, and Josh, along with myself, Brandon, uh, here tonight. We're just here to talk about hockey. It's gonna be a fun time. I'm glad this thing is up and going. Up and going. We got two Rangers fans, two Blues fans with us here tonight. Aaron and Jerry, how you Rangers doing tonight?
Pretty good right now. It's 1-0 at the top of the third. They're about 3 minutes into the third period, so we'll see how it goes. Things have been rocky, but after the All-Star break, it seems like we're starting to get our bearings back, so I'm happy. And like we said offline, the rest of the league might be going on notice pretty soon.
Yeah, that'll be a fun one. Aaron, you got any quick thoughts on your Rangers?
Will Coley's that dog. He's got that dog in him. So that's all I gotta say. But yeah, I mean, having Capo Caco back has been pretty clutch for us. We were struggling a little bit in that third and fourth line. Still kind of need maybe a fourth line center. I mean, Brzezinski's doing good, but for how long? But yeah, other than that, we're doing pretty good.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Brandon and Josh, how are you feeling about the St. Louis Blues right now?
I will default to you, sir.
Well, all right. I'm feeling actually pretty good about the Blues after things have kind of switched hands to Bannister. They've had their top 6 records in all NHL at the moment, and they've coming off a 7-1 record in the last 8 games. So I'd say they're doing pretty good behind. In front of Bennington, and then they got a couple of their young guys that are really coming out, and Neighbors, and Kyra's starting to kind of get a little bit of stuff going. But other than that, yeah, I'm excited for what the Blues are having left in the season.
Yeah,
and
Josh?
I'm on the other side of it. I am still rather cautious. Kyrou is, while his defensive game has gotten better, he's still inconsistent at times. Bennington is standing on his head to steal games. Hofer is proving that he can stand on his head when he needs to. This team is very incomplete. Lots of holes in the roster. But the good news is the Blues have a lot of youth coming, and the youth looks really, really good. Bannister has done really, really well with the AHL team the last few seasons. So I'm kind of expecting the Bannister, depending on how the rest of this year goes, Doug Armstrong's search for the next coach may be really, really short. And then we may see a Berube 2.0 in St. Louis. I wouldn't be opposed to it. I don't really have an opinion on Bannister yet. Still getting to know him. I want to feel him out the rest of the way. But the team is showing signs of life. They're showing that they can play together. Krug had a big game yesterday. But the next set of games is where I'm going to really be able to give you my opinion on where the Blues stand and what the future is going to hold. We've had a really soft schedule recently. We've handled our business, which is important. You got to play the schedule that's in front of you. We're winning the games we're supposed to win. We are going to have some tough competition over the next 2 weeks. So maybe over the next 2 weeks, I'll have a more solid opinion on where they're at and what they're going to do at the deadline.
I'm looking at the board right now. You guys are sitting in a pretty good spot. I mean, you're 8th in the West, and you're tied with the Kings, who are a pretty hot team. So that's nothing to shake a stick at. But the only issue that I'm seeing right now is that the jump from where you guys are at 7 and 8 to 5 and 6, that's a far jump. We're looking at like 10 points. That Western Conference is no joke.
We'll see. I'd rather not get in at the 8th spot and take the higher draft pick this year and just miss the playoffs. So, I mean, if we're not a 4 seed or higher, I don't want to be in the playoffs this year. I'd rather just take the draft pick this season because I don't think the team can make the run. I don't think they have the chemistry and the magic that 19 did.
Crazier things have happened, man. It'll never be 2019 again. But, you look at the Bruins, you look at the Lightning, never sell yourself short. Anything can happen in the NHL playoffs.
Even the Kings, was it 13 or 14?
No, do not say 2014 around us,
sorry.
please.
Trust me, I know. We played
not a bad year for you guys.
We played them too. I know. But you're looking at a team that happened to just play really good hockey at the right time, and just
that's what it's all about.
Took care of business and what they needed to do.
Yep.
So, oh man, it's a fun week though. I won't lie.
Oh yeah.
Look at a lot of drama in the Toronto versus Ottawa game with the whole slap shot at the end of the game, empty netter. Aaron, what was your thoughts on that whole situation, and we'll get into some suspension talk because I'm sure it's gonna. Well, I don't know if it's gonna happen, but we'll see.
They were just saying about a hearing. I don't think they've actually said anything about an actual suspension yet.
He did nothing
hearings
wrong.
usually lead to like 5 games though. Whenever they do
There
something,
was,
I mean, if they were going to pull out suspension like two games, I mean, I like the hit personally. I thought it was good. There was no need to do a slap shot right there near the end of the game at empty net. So the fact that he did that stuff for his team, that was cool. The only thing I had a question with is Sheldon Keefe talking about like that's what they do and stuff like that. It's like, bro, like no, you don't. You're not like that. Just shut up. Like you don't have bruisers like that. You have like Ryan Reeves and maybe Bertuzzi. And you didn't even want to play Ryan Reeves half the time. So I was cool with the hit. I saw no problems with it. But
and Reeves was even coming out and saying that he was backing Riley, but I mean, yeah, doing the whole cross check to the head, maybe not, but like getting in the guy's face and roughing him up. I don't see what the problem is with that. Bring that kind of stuff back into the NHL because we haven't seen a lot of that since the olden days. I mean, you don't really see that a whole lot really anymore.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair points, but it is something that the NHL is trying to get rid of.
Wrong. It's wrong. It's wrong to do that. That's hockey. That's just a
Amen.
sport.
I know.
That's a sport.
I know. But if you look over the last couple of years, that's just something. Those are things that they're trying to get rid of. I think if he would have, not saying that I agree with the whole slap shot thing. I thought it was kind of a little ridiculous. It wasn't necessary and whatnot. Cross check to the head was probably in the same category. It was a little ridiculous. Probably not necessary. You could have just taken him down. I don't think the whole cross check to the head thing was as necessary. Or you just wait till the next game, and as soon as you see him, you just you flop him to the ground.
I didn't even think it was that bad. I thought it was kind of blown out of proportion a little bit. I watched the replay. It was kind of. I've seen way worse.
Oh yeah.
It's not like there was like 5 Scott Stevenses out there.
That you go back to the. I forgot who it was, but there was an Islander that cross-checked the Ranger in the neck back in like 2006 or something like that. That was wicked bad. There's a couple like really, where Bertuzzi's father. Is it Todd? Todd Bertuzzi. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Todd Bertuzzi.
With the sucker punch from behind against the Red Wing player, Dominic Moore's brother, I think it was, right?
I don't remember who he hit.
I don't remember that either.
I remember the hit. I don't remember who got it.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen a lot of really bad penalties or bad decisions happen in the NHL. But the thing about the NHL, and I'm going to say this parallels with baseball, not because I'm the baseball guy here, but the game used to police itself. Like, you knew that if you ran Wayne Gretzky, you were going to deal with the consequences, and those were 2 big boys that you had to deal with. In the Blues case, Hall said it himself in, I don't know if you guys have seen Ice Guardians. I'm hoping you have.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
Oh, yeah.
Great
Okay.
talk.
Hall, yeah, it's fantastic. Kelly Chase did a fantastic job. Speaking of Kelly Chase, keeping him in our prayers since he's still fighting leukemia right now. But Hall said himself, if it wouldn't have been for Twister and Chase, he wouldn't have been the player he was because he didn't have the protection. I mean, the game took care of itself. Fighting was necessary, and it was a key part of the game, and it's what drew people to the game. Baseball's a lot of the same way with the pitchers and throwing at batters and everything else. That's the parallel. The game's gotten soft because our culture's gotten soft. So it's just never going to be what we got to grow up with, and our kids are never going to get to experience what the game truly was and what it was meant to be and how it was meant to be played. It's just a damn shame.
Yeah,
that's all.
Yeah, let's get those Derek Boogaards out there. R.I.P.
Yeah. He was a beast.
Do we think this is gonna the animosity? There's already been a little bit of that rivalry kind of growing between Toronto and Ottawa. Is this something that's going to continue as the season goes on? I don't know how many more times they play each other.
I don't think Toronto should be paying the Senators no mind.
Yeah.
I think they should don't take. I wouldn't say take the high road. Definitely serve justice. And I think the next time they play, we might see a nice little line brawl that we haven't seen in a little bit. But when you're the Maple Leafs and you're playing with how you're playing with the players that you have, Lions shouldn't concern themselves with the opinions of sheep. You know what I'm saying? Like, Focus on your game. Focus on trying to get the monkey off your back, and really don't
Mhm.
worry about little brother up there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was gonna
that I
say,
agree with.
yeah, they definitely have better things to worry about than what Ottawa's got going on.
Yeah. Or
I
Ottawa
could have said it better.
is Ottawa sellers at the trade deadline?
Definitely.
I hope so.
Tarasenko's going right back to the Rangers. You can hear
I
it
was
all.
going to say.
I was just about to say that.
I mean, he's got 29 goals
I've
this year.
seen so many trade talks about Tarasenko coming back to the Rangers is not even funny.
I mean, it would make sense. It wasn't necessary. I don't think that they should have re-signed him.
We
I don't
loved
understand
having
why
him.
they didn't.
He was fantastic. We didn't have the cap space, plain and
Yeah.
simple. He was a fantastic pickup. He loved being in New York. New York loved having him, and he played well.
Yeah.
It kind of sucked because we brought him in it was like boomer bust for us. And obviously with that first round exit, it did us no good. But when you bring in him and Patty Kane at the same time and it doesn't work out, it's gonna leave a sour taste in your mouth. But if you isolate the two of them, sure, Patty Kane was playing with one hip and it didn't work out. And I would take Patty Kane back with open arms as well. But Tarasenko was he was a monster. He was great to have. He was a great guy. The locker room loved him. The fans loved him, so I hope we're able to get him back.
Yep.
Yeah.
Was he on second line or first line for you guys whenever he came up? Because I didn't really pay attention to where
Second
he
line.
was at.
Yeah,
in the
I believe
lineup.
he was a second liner.
Okay.
I keep seeing a lot of trades too. Of course, all these ex-Rangers want to come back, but Pavel Buchnevich wants to come back. Apparently, the Rangers they're in trade talks with us. And I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, he was good, but I think he's all right. And you said it's St. Louis.
No,
See,
Jerry
I've been
made the
seeing
right
a
call.
lot of trade rumors for him, Parayko, Bennington. I don't think St. Louis is going to be buyers or sellers at the deadline. I think from everything that has been kind of coming around with Armstrong and even a lot of the players, they've all said that we're wanting to keep the team that we have going into the deadline. And even if we make it to the playoffs, they're not really looking to see much change really with this team.
Yeah.
The only thing I heard that maybe, I don't know if you heard Rutherford, but something along the lines of if they do make a move at the deadline, it's probably going to be something about the future, not to impact this year's team. It'll be more about what's going on down the line, not to make a run this year. So that's the only thing I heard. If they make a move at the deadline, that's kind of what
I did hear about that a little bit, but yeah, I don't know who they would send or what they would piece together.
I can tell you one name if they could find a way to unload him.
Scandella?
No. It's the guy we picked, not Kapanen, but Vrana.
Oh,
you won't get much of anything. You may get
but if they could unload him, they'd unload him.
Round pick for Vrana, but that would be about it.
Yeah,
I'd take whatever we get. I'd take a bag of pucks for him.
Yeah, if that.
Let's move on. Let's move on a little bit. We'll talk about some of our playoff favorites, who we think is going to kind of make that second season push. Who's going to fall out, and who might be your cup favorites for this year? Obviously, I mean, we all want to say our teams in the Blues and the Rangers, obviously, but let's look at it at a realistic point. Let's start in the Eastern Conference if we can, which is all over the place.
A little bit,
to be honest, just a little bit.
A little bit.
But it's a fun conference at the same time.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say the Bruins are coming back with a vengeance this year. I'm not going to say a lot of them came back, but there's a lot of familiarity with that team. Pasa's still doing his thing. He's being Pasa. He's lighting the lamp night after night, and their goalie tandem has been working just as good as ever. And obviously after last year, they're going to have a sour taste in their mouth looking for revenge. That being said, though, don't sleep on the Cats, down in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't think anyone's sleeping at them. I have ESPN's rankings up here. They're number 5. So they're definitely going to be a force to be reckoned with. And obviously, I hate to be a homer here, but I think the Rangers might have something, I wouldn't be surprised if they go on a little bit of a run. We'll see what happens, easier said than done, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I think sneaky Flyers.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
I think somehow, some way, a John Tortorella team. I think that they can
keep them on
real
your radar.
Sneaky in the playoffs. Because the Bruins, I've been saying it. Their top centers are like third and fourth line centers, and Pastrnak is 85% of the team. So he can't do everything. I feel like somehow, some way in the playoffs, the Bruins will get upheld by someone. I mean, Toronto's Toronto. They'll probably go another 20 years until they get out of the first round again. I mean, Detroit's lighting it up a little bit, but is Patrick Kane going to be healthy enough to help out this team, or are they better off without him? Because they are, I think, 7-2 in their last 9. So I mean, I'm not sure, but yeah, it's going to be a little bit tight. But I think the Flyers might be a little bit sneaky when they make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Is there anybody who might fall out of this? So you're looking at kind of
Tampa,
Toronto. Tampa's 61 points in the Atlantic right now. You're looking at Toronto, Detroit's right there. The Islanders, the Devils have been a very up and down team this year.
I'm not worried about the Devils. I think the Islanders though might make a wild card push.
Yeah, I could
especially
see that.
with Waugh at the helm right now, and they're playing with nothing to lose, and that kind of makes me nervous, especially because they notoriously have the Rangers number. I mean, we're playing them on Sunday in the Stadium Series, so we'll see how that goes to kind of gauge stuff. But
And they're only 4 points behind a wild card spot, so I mean that's pretty close behind both Toronto, Detroit, and then depending on if Tampa Bay falls off here or not, if they keep going, they're only 5 points behind Tampa.
Yeah, the Islanders are in a weird situation where they had a real shaky start of the season with all those losses, but a majority of those losses were overtime losses, and they made out with a point. And the entire time that was all happening, and I'm not closely related on Islanders Twitter, but I am there because I send a lot of hate there because I despise the Islanders with a burning passion.
That's only fair. That's only fair.
I didn't realize how many overtime losses they actually had.
Yes.
They had 12.
And that's going to come in. Listen, that's a big factor here because, they're losses, but you're still walking out with 1 point, and that's one more point than what you should have had. And, it obviously sucks, and it's not going to get you to, a first or second seed, but those points down the stretch might really help you out in a little bit and mean something. So I think it kind of worked out to their advantage a little bit, which is something I've been saying since, November. I think that was always probably going to be the case. And now with Waugh behind the bench, they're kind of really shaking things up, and they're starting to get hot at a good time. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Now, one thing with the East. Sorry.
No, you're good.
One thing with the East, do you think with where Pittsburgh is at, do you think one of the big teams in the East are going to try and go after Gunsell from Pittsburgh to try to bolster the roster for probably one of the big teams that are in the East or even the West?
I could see him going to Vancouver. Somehow, some way, they'll try to get him in Vancouver and just add up to that arsenal.
Yeah.
But that's just me. I don't think anybody I don't think they'll trade with anybody in the East, just because most of the teams they're just too powerful that they're not going to just hand them away. But yeah, I can see Vancouver trying to make a big push to solidify how great they've been this year.
Yep.
I got something to say on Vancouver in a bit.
Yeah, what's your thoughts on the Carolina Hurricanes?
You're going right where I want to go.
Any thoughts on the Carolina Hurricanes? They've been kind of a sneakily quiet team this year.
They were on our heels for a little bit, and I got scared, but I don't know. I'm not losing sleep over them, strictly from a Rangers standpoint, because there's a very solid chance we'll see them in a dance eventually, just because that's always how it works out with the Met and everything. But the Rangers have their number. They've never really scared me. I'm not worried about them. They're obviously good, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. I think they're kind of I don't want to say their magic's wearing off, but like they're not. I've been more scared in the past of the Hurricanes than I am this year.
Yeah, same. I just their goaltending I think is just a little lackluster. I mean, Antti Ranta, personal favorite. That's how great our backups have been over the years. He's okay. Frederick Anderson, I think, still has the blood clots, so I'm pretty sure he's not going to be suiting up anytime soon. We've always had their number in the playoffs, so I'm not really worried about him. But I just feel like this Rob Brittamore team is just not as good. But I wouldn't mind bringing back Tony Giangelo. I wouldn't mind having him back. I mean,
Dirtbag of a person,
Georgiev is
power
in
play
Colorado,
specialist.
so we don't. He won't pick any fights.
Yeah. Let's switch over now to since we got kind of the Vancouver talk going a little bit. Let's switch over to the Western Conference. Is there a team in the Western Conference that we think might slip out, might not make the playoffs after all?
Slip out.
LA.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Because they did have that one stretch where they were. They lost. I think what was it, 12 or 13 games in like a 15-game stretch, and they were falling a lot back onto Rittich, where Talbot was not doing the greatest, and even Rittich he had his good moments and his bad moments, but I don't know. I could see LA with how good. You got Nashville, you got Edmonton, you got a lot of the other teams that are all fighting for playoff spots in the West. I feel like if they keep up like their downward trend, I feel like LA could bounce their way out of the playoffs.
Okay. Yeah, Czech Steeler Pierre-Luc Dubois, huh? You really wanted to go to LA, got that bag, and he just disappeared on a milk carton.
I was going to say, he hasn't done much of anything for them since Dubois has come over.
He pulled a good draw. Man's got to get paid.
Yeah.
No, yeah, true.
Yep. He got his money, and that was enough. Anybody else? Josh, do you have any thoughts on who might?
I have a question about the Canucks. Are the Canucks legit for real, or is this just because I don't think they're legit? I think they get bounced in the first round.
Yes.
That's what I think for the playoff prediction. I wonder what you guys think about that. Even if they load up, I don't think it helps them get to the Stanley Cup. I don't think it'd be a bad choice. But I think they lose to the Golden Knights in a later playoff round. I think the Jets beat them, to be honest, if they end up playing in the first or second round. I don't know how the season is going to work out, but I don't know. I just don't think they're legit. I think they're too young. I don't think they'll get through the playoffs. What do you guys think?
So I agree with you to the whole bounced early and too young aspect of things. To call them not legit, though, I think is not – oh, Jesus. To call them not legit, though, I think it's wrong. I think they're a very good hockey team. We've played them twice. We were 1-1 against them as a Rangers perspective. But I think that they're going to blow their load too quickly. And they're going to make all these big-time acquisitions. They think it's going to be, this, that, and the other thing. And I just don't see the longevity of a playoff push for them, especially in a Western Conference, where if you look at the conference, like you said, you're going to be going against the Knights, who are reigning Stanley Cup champions, who have had two very deep playoff runs previous to when they walked out on top. You're going to be going against the Edmonton Oilers, who are not the deepest team in the league, but are among the most skilled team in the league. You're going to be going against the Avalanche, who, again, has been there, are, 2 years removed from a Stanley Cup champion, or a couple of years removed from a Stanley Cup championship, who are also a very deep team and can be dangerous. The Western Conference is going to be, and then, like you said, the Jets too. The Jets are something to be worried about too. The Jets are playing fantastic hockey. There's a lot of good teams in the Western Conference. I think are going to really, I really think that the Canucks, while on top, I think we'll see kind of something akin to the Bruins and the Lightning. An early, shockingly first round exit where you could probably make some good money on the dogs in that series, whoever it might be. Might even end up being you guys.
It's the President's Trophy curse, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
But there's still time. There's still time for the President's Trophy talk. There's a lot of teams in that mix.
Oh yeah.
So
we talk about Colorado and Winnipeg and Edmonton and Vegas, but you have to look at the Dallas Stars too, who are currently sitting first in the Central.
Absolutely.
Who have a lot of experience, who've been to a Stanley Cup final, been to Western Conference finals recently, who have had those deep playoff runs. So the Western Conference is stacked.
Even with that second line of Marchment, Duchesne, and Tyler Seguin, Duchesne revitalized himself coming over to Dallas. He's looked like the Matt Duchesne of, I guess you could say, the Ottawa Blackhawk type. But yeah, no, that second line for them is nasty. Ottinger's a really good goalie. I thought he did well in the playoffs last year, but hopefully he might slip up this year. But no, this team is all gas right here, all gas.
You mean Dallas?
Yeah, Dallas. All gas.
Yeah. Which one?
I think Dallas gets upset in the first round too.
You think they get bounced in the first round?
Oof, really?
And who will be this team that bounced them out in the first is the question.
So it's going to have to be one of those teams that has high-powered offense. That's just they don't have defense, but they have offense and they can score because Dallas's goaltending, well, it's good. It's not one of the top 8 goaltenders setups in the league. If you really look at the breakdown for their goals against, So that's where I come from on that, where maybe if Edmonton got hot at the right time and played them in the first round, just because Edmonton's got offensive power between McDavid and Draisaitl, if somehow they could revitalize the whole team and they all take on that persona for a series, because we've seen it happen before where guys play out of their mind for one series, that's how I think Dallas could lose in the first round. But that's about it.
I could see that happening.
Now with the placement of like if playoffs were to start today,
that's where I was.
Wouldn't the Stars be playing the Blues with how everything is kind of situated?
They would play the Kings, I believe.
Blues would play the Canucks, and I would take the Blues.
Oh yeah, you're right, because the Canucks have a better record. So yeah, we would play the Canucks, and then Dallas would be playing LA.
Mm-hmm.
That would be, I don't know. I still think Dallas would take that series, but that would be. If it was the other way around and the Blues found their way into the top spot, I could see that being an interesting series, to say the least.
What are you guys' thoughts on Colorado? They're kind of like on a skid right now, but they're another team where they're like all gas. They go for like Cale Makar, nasty, Nathan McKinnon, nasty. Like,
well, with over the weekend, didn't McKinnon, he got hurt pretty good, didn't he? To where he might be out, or I thought somebody was telling me that Colorado might be losing McKinnon for a short period of time.
Oh, damn. I didn't even know that.
You know what? That doesn't hurt Colorado. That doesn't hurt Colorado.
I was going to say, Colorado is so injury-ridden and how well they've been playing, it doesn't even really matter. I mean,
so here's my thing with Colorado. If they get in, they'll be healthy by the time the playoffs start. It doesn't matter. It's Colorado. They have so much talent. They're so deep. They have all the speed, all the defense, all the skill. Their goaltending, in my opinion, is a little bit weak. But,
yeah.
And I don't mean like weak overall. I mean like in comparison to the elite teams, like the 5 best teams, they're probably the weakest goalie setup out of that top tier teams. So
I don't know, man. Georgie stood on his head against the Rangers, so when he needs to bring it, he's going to bring it. That might have just been a vengeance thing because he was playing his old team, but I like Georgie. I think he's a great goalie, and I think when the time comes, he'll answer the call.
He's good.
I don't disagree.
He's really good.
He's been so spotty. It's just it's hard to tell when he's going to have his good games and when he's going to have his really off games.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
That was the name of the game in New York too for him.
Yeah, that's funny. Shoot, I had a question and I lost it.
Well, while you rethink that, just to go back to what Aaron said about the Avalanche going on a skid, they're on an East Coast trip right now, and they're 0-4 on their East Coast trip, which kind of sucks. But obviously, when you travel and you do whatever, it's never really when you're going from west to east or east to west. The odds are really very rarely in your favor.
True.
That's fair.
I mean, you're going through different time zones,
and
different times that you're usually used to playing. So yeah, you're gonna be playing at off times that you're not usually used to. And I know a lot of people say, "Oh, that shouldn't affect them," but I mean, when you're used to playing at 5, 6, 7 o'clock in the West, and then you're going to play at 8, 9, 10 in the East. Wait, no, I had that backwards. But regardless, it's
we knew what you meant, buddy.
Yeah, it takes a toll a little bit on those guys after a certain period of time,
for sure.
And we see it in all the sports. It's all the same when they go on those long trips.
Well, with that though, they played Sunday. I think it was Sunday or Saturday against Florida, against the Panthers. Saturday. Lost 4-0. Looking at the Avalanche schedule, they don't play again until Thursday.
Oof.
So they have
got a nice little break.
A break.
I was gonna say they had
huge.
Well, they came back pretty early from All-Star break, didn't they? Start pretty much right off the rip from All-Star break. They didn't really have like an extended break like the Blues did.
Yeah, because they played the Rangers and lost 2-1.
Yep. So that'll be good for them probably to have a little bit of a break after having an 0-4 skid in these last few games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's a good team, a deep organization up there. Like that's why I said I'm just not worried about that team. Like they're gonna do. I feel like they're trying to be like Tampa Bay right now, where they got guys that are injured, and then they come back right in time for the playoffs where the salary cap doesn't matter, and they put it all together and they stack the team. Vegas did it too. So I think they're kind of playing that game, that edge.
Okay. Any other closing thoughts on playoff on the playoffs and implications and stuff that you could see teams who slide out, who might slide in before we move on?
Be on the lookout for the Kraken to kind of make a late season run. I think that's not out of the realm of possibility. They're a little further back in the standings, but they're not a bad team.
No.
So I wouldn't exactly rule them out, but they are in the they're in the tougher, I believe, out of the, divisions. They're in the tougher division.
Yeah.
I was going to say either Seattle or Calgary.
Now, I heard Calgary is going to try to blow up their team for some reason. I don't know why they would want to. Since
after watching that game tonight, that's idiotic. Because the Calgary Flames.
Don't tell me that. Don't tell me that. I'm just saying. I kept hearing rumbles about that. I don't know why, but
I did too. There was several players like towards the beginning of the season that I thought they were saying that they were wanting out. I think Hannafin was one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I can't think of them all off the top of my head, but I know Hannafin was definitely one player that was saying like, "Hey, I want out of this."
Mm-hmm. Wasn't another one of their defenders? I'm not familiar with their roster. I thought it was two defensive guys. I remember Hannafin was one name. I can't remember the other one. They were talking about on ESPN radio one morning. I can't remember.
Let me look.
No, yeah. How? By the way, not to diss on Chicago, but how bad is Chicago?
They're the best AHL team in the NHL. All right.
Exactly what they want.
Doing what they need to do.
I can't say anything. We just almost lost to them in overtime. So, but fair. I will say this though, they're lining themselves up good here. Not that this draft class is, the best draft class we've seen recently, because it's definitely not. But with how they're tailing right now, it looks like they're kind of on pace to get another high-profile draft pick coming their way, depending on how the water ball works. Yeah, exactly. So we might be seeing a resurgence of the Kane and Taste type 1-2 combo punch with Bedard and whoever else they might pick up in this year's draft. So be on the lookout for them in the coming years. They're definitely building. They got something going there, and Bedard's he's on his way back. He's nothing to really, he's definitely a force to be reckoned with, and he's going to be a problem for many years to come. So if they pick up someone to complement them, Western Conference is going to go right back on notice.
Yeah, Connor Bedard's good.
They don't have Taylor Hall. They don't have obviously Corey Perry is now in Edmonton, but they just surrounded Connor Bedard with all those like veterans to kind of keep an eye on him. And then next year they'll be fine. They won't have to baby them in a sense.
Yeah.
Let them just kind of take off the training wheels and fly. But I actually, for the Eastern Conference, I think Toronto will edge Tampa, and Tampa will get knocked out. I just feel like, yes, they have Vasilevsky back, but Steven Stamkos is unhappy. I don't think he's going to be back in Tampa next year, and they're going to try to trade him.
Do you think he goes, or do you think he retires? Because Stamkos has had like a 20-year career at this point. He's
before he signed his extension, and I know this is not going to happen. Before he signed his extension the second time, he actually wanted to go play in Toronto because he's apparently everybody's a Maple Leafs fan in Canada. Apparently, so whether it's John Tavares or him, but he wanted to play for the Leafs at that time before Tampa gave him that big contract. So maybe something like that. I know John Tavares' contract's kind of hurting them as well as Mitch Marner's, because obviously what happened with Nylander's contract. But I can see Steven Stamkos getting traded to a contender if he really wanted to, or try some way for Toronto.
Yeah, that's fair. Speaking of, we talked about Chicago for a second. You guys get the fun stadium series this weekend.
Super fun.
Do you like the jerseys?
I do. A lot, actually. The Rangers jersey, at least. The Islanders jersey is kind of shit, but the Rangers jersey is nice.
The Islanders look like the Oilers.
It kind of does, just a little bit. And it's always a fun time. The stadium series, the outdoor games are always a blast. Just to watch the atmosphere and whatnot. It's exciting. The fact that you're getting 2 games back-to-back days at the same stadium with the rivalry between all those teams. We get another one next year, the 2025 Winter Classic, between the St. Louis Blues and Chicago Blackhawks. To be honest, I was a little surprised that
Oh yeah,
they gave it to Chicago and St. Louis again.
Well, I mean, not so much Chicago. After just getting Bedard, you figured, oh, the NHL wants to put them a little bit more on the map and have the new youngest superstar in the league being one of the more notorious outdoor games, and who's better to do it with them than their rivals of the St. Louis Blues.
Who did they play last time? They played the Red Wings last time, right?
I think the last time.
I think it was the Red Wings.
Didn't they play Boston at Notre Dame though?
yes,
They did.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they played Boston.
That was the most recent one.
I think I missed that one.
I'm fine by that. Listen, anything with the original six, man, count me in. Original six hockey is good hockey. It's good for the league. You'll never hear me. We talked about it on Blue Shirts Banter. The one thing you'll notice about me is that I'll never speak ill on an original six team. I love all six of them. I think they're all great. I think they're all classy for the most part.
Mhm.
I think it just makes the sport better. And I know, obviously, no one could control whether or not you're in the original six. I am. You're not. Sucks to suck. Sorry about that. But
Damn.
But when you're in the original six, it's like an exclusive club that I just think,
Right.
hockey's better. So for them to be at the forefront with Bedard ready to go, and that's another thing with Bedard is that, the NHL got so much flack for having Connor McDavid and pulling kind of a Mike Trout situation where it's just like you have the best player who probably ever put on a pair of skates and you're not marketing him out to the public and you're playing games at 10 o'clock and blah, 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 this, that, and the other thing. And then all of a sudden, Connor Bedard comes into the league as the second Connor McDavid, and he's getting marketed up the wazoo, and everyone is just like, okay, we get it. That's enough. It's like, no. Last year you were begging for this, and they're finally doing it right, and now you're complaining. You're never happy. You're never happy. It's so annoying. So I think the NHL's doing right about this. No, he didn't. No, he didn't.
He went to a team that just got out of a scandal. Yes, he went to the wrong team.
Okay, that's fair.
He absolutely went to the wrong team. The Chicago Blackhawks deserve to suck for the next decade because their ownership and management had bad decisions. The fan base, unfortunately, should be penalized for that. But no, they've been rewarded.
Yeah, I never really looked at it that way.
On blades.
It's funny you say that. What do you guys think about the Arizona situation?
I think he should have gone to
I was
better
to bring this up, but I didn't know when the best time was to bring it up.
You can't send a star player to a team with no arena. Wait, what's going on?
I know, it's horrible.
What's going on there? Just like the arena situation you're saying? Or like what's...
Pretty much,
there's been a new development with the whole thing. So the boss of the NHLPA has pretty much put on notice with Bettman and the rest of the league that Arizona has till pretty much the end of the season to have building plans and everything for a new arena. If they don't have a new arena plan made up, like ground plans, everything, they're pretty much getting shipped out to either Utah, Atlanta, or one of the other teams that that are wanting to have expansion teams.
Let's send them to Atlanta, where we've had two franchises go there, just have it not work out. And Utah would be interesting, though.
Yeah, they're actually having one of the radio stations here in St. Louis was talking about it, the whole Atlanta situation, where like the Thrashers were at for the longest time in like downtown Atlanta. They were saying that there was a bad kind of location, but they felt like with the new plan that they have kind of built up and everything around Atlanta, or like on like an outskirt kind of, that they feel like it's a better location, that they'll actually get a better market value for an NHL team there. And
are they getting their own arena? Or are they playing with the Hawks?
They would build their own arena.
Oh, wow.
Their own arena.
Yep.
I wouldn't mind Houston.
I had the list. There's like six different cities.
Send them to Quebec. Bring back the Nordiques.
Oh, geez.
Quebec was actually one of them. Quebec was one. Atlanta.
How many Canadian teams do we need, though? I mean, come on.
Quebec is their sport.
Yeah.
All right, I'll give that.
Atlanta was one. Salt Lake City was one. And Kansas City, and then there was one other one that I can't remember.
Missouri or Kansas?
I don't know.
No, Kansas City, Missouri.
Yeah.
Kansas City is actually a nice little hockey hub
Oh,
out of Missouri. The minor league teams have done really well there, and then they always do like a preseason game in Wichita, Kansas, so people from Missouri and Kansas can all
yeah,
get
that'll
there.
be good for you guys. You'll have another team in the state. You can have a nice little rivalry that way.
But
We
then
run a nice
they're
Series.
also talking about a shift in the teams of divisions that
Yeah.
more than likely they would probably have to put KC in the Central, and they would probably take Nashville since they're closer to the east, like eastern side, and they would probably put them over to the east.
Hmm.
And
I mean, if you're going to put a team if you're for sure really, the whole Atlanta thing, that you wouldn't have to move Nashville.
No, you wouldn't have to at that point.
But
That's why they'll do 2 teams at once.
Yeah.
Probably. You
Well,
got to keep it
and
even.
Bettman has said repeatedly that they don't want to do another expansion team with how many teams are already in the league. They don't want to do another expansion.
I just can't believe there's an owner that couldn't cut the checks.
I honestly don't know if I believe Gary Bettman when he says that he doesn't want to do another expansion with the success he's seen in Vegas and Seattle.
It's 2 for 2. People give him a lot of shit, man, but Gary Bettman's probably the best commissioner out of the Big Four, in my opinion. I know everyone hates him, but I think he's a great commissioner. I think
he does a great job.
It's more money for the league when you get an expansion team. Yeah, you're obviously spending more, but you're also going to bring in more money. You're going to bring in more fans. You're going to bring in there's just more that you're going to bring in if you're adding an expansion team instead of relocating a team.
And I think each franchise gets a cut too, or something like that. Yeah,
I believe so. Yeah, but
I have a pop-up.
Did you see how much it costs for an expansion team? Like they were kind of going over a little bit, and it's been going up over the years, and it would be like close to almost $1 billion for a team to do an expansion.
Hypothetical question.
Yeah.
If we got to decide, let's say the NHL was going to do expansion, 2 teams. One of the teams has to go to a city that formerly had a team, and one has to be a city that's never had a team. Which 2 cities do you pick?
Hartford, Connecticut. Hartford, Connecticut. No.
Bring back the Oilers.
do not put an NHL team in Hartford, Connecticut. As much as I would love to see the Whale come back, it would not be successful. Send them to Winnipeg.
That's why.
I think Winnipeg has been begging
Winnipeg
for. I'm sorry. Quebec. Nordiques fans have been begging for a team. When the Islanders were at the Nassau Coliseum, I might be mistaking them with Winnipeg, but I know fans would come in droves by the busload and just fill out a section to show, hey, look, we could support a team, and the Islanders are playing here in their home arena with a team where they can't they can't even give tickets away. But look at us, we're traveling, as many miles as we are down from Canada. Give us the team back. So I think Quebec would do good with the Nordiques, bring them back. One of the sweetest jerseys in the NHL. So I would love to see that.
And then which new city?
It needs to be a big one, especially like we were saying. If the cost is going to be $1 billion to bring in a franchise, you can't go to Kansas City. You can't go to Salt Lake. You got to go to
Houston. Everything's bigger
Houston
in Texas.
Could work. The way the geo climate, however you want to word it, I think Austin might be a better fit than Houston, maybe. Just because I feel like Austin's kind of a booming city, but I don't think they're very big on sports. I'm trying to think where else we could put them.
I would almost think Houston would be better. I mean, with having already a few teams already there in Houston, I would think that would probably be a little bit easier. I would think because at the time, because you could probably share an arena with the basketball team there in Houston, and then just kind of flip it back and forth between a hockey arena and a basketball arena. Or if they want to do a whole different building, that's up to them.
I don't think
you have a lot of room to work with in Texas. You can go to San Antonio, you can go to Houston, you can go to Austin. Where the obviously the Stars are in Dallas, so I'd stay out of there. But that's a big ass state. That could be its own country.
Well, you could do Cincinnati or Louisville too, because those 2 cities are so close to together, and they're both major cities. Those people in that area, they root for each other all the time, or they're arch rivals against each other. So I'm like, if you only got one hockey team there, it's in Cincinnati. people will come from Louisville. It's only a 25, 30-minute drive to get to Cincinnati.
Or
How about
even
New Orleans.
You got to think about the hockey though as like a like where you're going. Like there's no, I mean, granted, we talked about Arizona before. There's no hockey. There was barely any hockey in Arizona before the Coyotes got there. But like in the South, man, it's football, it's basketball, it's baseball.
Yeah, but Ohio State plays hockey.
Oh yeah, sure. No. Well, I'm all for Ohio. Ohio's a huge state. You can go to obviously we have the Jackets in Columbus, but you can go to Cincinnati, like you said, or you can go to Cleveland. There's definitely a market in Cleveland.
I forgot about Columbus. I totally forgot they were in the league.
Yeah,
so I was thinking Ohio needs a team.
Thinking about it, like Cincinnati wouldn't be an awful. It wouldn't be an awful place to put a team, and neither would Houston. You get either you do Cincinnati, if you do Houston, you get two natural rivals already. If you put one in Cincinnati, you get Columbus. If you put one in Houston, you get Dallas.
Yeah.
So, where if you put a team in Atlanta, you're going to have to build some kind of rivalry with Tampa Bay, Florida, Carolina, Nashville, like some team around there. And it's already such a cluster in that area too. You
really need to spread it out because it's a regional sport. You got to get a team somewhere where they don't have fans.
But I think if they do any expansion, they're going to look to the Eastern Conference more than the West. Because they already added two expansion teams to the West.
I think that's fair. Yeah,
I think they would add a team to the East, or maybe 1-1. I don't know.
I would say it would probably be a little bit easier to do probably 1-1 or probably 2 to the East because you already added 2 to the West. So, I mean, depending on how evened out the numbers would be, it would have to. Like depending on where the numbers are at for each conference, it would just probably depend on that.
Right.
Hey guys, I gotta go. It was nice meeting you fellas. Brandon, I'm sure I'll talk to you guys soon. Welcome to the team.
Yes.
Look forward to seeing what you guys do because you're from the East Coast, so you guys will keep me updated on what's going on up in that part of the world. And hopefully, if you guys know baseball, maybe we'll have you on the baseball show this season.
That's our buddy Chris, who also does Blue Shirt Banter. He's a Mets specialist.
Fantastic.
He's the guy you're going to want to talk to for that. But yeah, looking
forward
to the rest of the season.
Hey, you guys take care. Have a great evening.
Take it easy. Good job, guys.
Real quick, before we finish up, I got one NHL trivia question for you. See if you can get it. You're probably going to get it right away. I don't imagine it's going to be super hard. And then we'll get out of here. Who was drafted second overall behind Sidney Crosby? Second overall behind Sidney Crosby.
Can I get a conference or a division or something?
I want to say, well, was it before or after? I'll give you some choices. How about this? Mike Richards, Alex Ovechkin, Bobby Ryan, or none of the above?
Wasn't Ovechkin. I know that.
Yeah, because he was the one before. Say the names again.
Bobby Ryan. It was Bobby Ryan because Mike Richards is in the league already because he won a Stanley. He won a Stanley Cup in 2004 with the Lightning. It's Bobby Ryan.
Yep, it was Bobby Ryan. I couldn't remember if it was Ottawa that had drafted him, or if he had moved on to.
Wow, Bobby Ryan! What a throwback! Jeez.
Yeah. Yep, Bobby Ryan was.
I couldn't remember. I was about to look it up, but I couldn't remember who it was.
Yep, it was Bobby Ryan. He was drafted second overall behind Sidney Crosby. So,
dang. Wasn't Carey Price like a top 10 in that draft too?
What year was that? 05?
Had been so.
Yeah, 05, right? Yeah, because he was back to back with Ovechkin. I could have swore he was a top 10, which is crazy at that point.
While he was looking it up,
Bobby Ryan, Jack Johnson, Benoit Pouliot,
Benoit Pouliot. Oh my God.
Who else? Mark Stahl was 9th. Devin Setaguchi was 10th. That name sounds oddly familiar. Anze Kopitar was the first European to go.
So Carey Price is in like the top 20 then?
Carey Price. Yeah, it's weird the way it's listed out. Oh, here we go. I have the Carey Price was the 5th pick to the Canadians.
Oh, dang. I didn't think 5th.
Top 5.
Eesh. And look at him now. Got beat up by the Rangers. What up?
Kopitar went 11th. Mark Stahl went to the Rangers at 12. Anybody else in here? It's really Tuukka Rask went 21st to the Maple Leafs. TJ Oshie went 24th to the Blues.
Oh, TJ Oshie.
Captain America. That's really it.
TJ Sochi. Sochi. There we go.
Yeah, TJ Sochi.
Yeah.
James Neal went in the second round, 33rd to the Stars. Paul Stastny was in that draft.
I will say though, for Variety Sports, I do like when you guys do these trivias.
Yeah.
I'm usually pretty good with the baseball ones, but I like these. These are good. Keeps the mind thinking.
We'll try to keep that kind of going throughout. However many times we're able to kind of sit down and do this. So
Jonathan Quick was in that draft, 72, round 3. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember
he's been in the league that long.
Yeah.
Yep.
20 years.
He's old, man. He's pushing 40. Ben Bishop to the Blues, Chris Letang to the Penguins, all in the 3rd round. Keith Yandel was in that draft, 4th round. Yeah, good draft.
Yeah, no kidding. Ben Bishop, good old Ben Bishop. Guy was he should have been a better goaltender. He was a good goaltender. He played really well at his time in Dallas.
Yeah,
for the couple years.
He almost won a cup. Yeah.
Yeah. Brandon, you wanted to bring up something before. I know thought this was to be the last thing. Brandon wanted to bring up one thing, real quick, and it was the Four Nations. I guess the Four Nations tournament.
Yep.
Instead of the All-Star game. Between is it Sweden, Finland, the United States, and Canada?
Yep.
What are your thoughts on it? You more excited about that than the All-Star game?
I think with where the kind of the All-Star game has kind of gone, it's kind of lost its appeal, I guess, sent over the last several years. So doing something to kind of change it up and doing something like this, I think it's going to be really neat to see how it all goes about, because it's a 3-day deal that they're going to be doing next year, about the same time as when the Nashville or the All-Star game would be, and I think it's going to be a good thing for the league.
I'd rather almost see a World Cup sort of thing, or even it's tough to do the tournament. Is this confirmed? This is the first I'm hearing of it.
As far as I know, yes.
It is. They announced
I would
almost during the All-Star festivities.
Oh, did they? I would almost rather them rebrand the game back to North America versus Europe. I think they did that for a hot second.
Yeah.
I think that might work better, just because, like, how do you choose? Obviously, they chose Sweden and Finland, but like choosing 2 countries out of an entire continent. I mean, granted, you gravitate towards where the most players are, but you know, you're leaving a handful of people out. Kind of out. It kind of sucks. So I think exactly. So I mean, honestly, you could probably do Europe and then Russia on its own. Granted, the NHL, I feel like, was once upon a time dominated by Russians, and that's not so much the case anymore. I feel like now it's definitely a more healthy balance, but it should be interesting. The All-Star game was due for a rebrand. I will say that. I watched it this year. The 3-on-3 thing, I think, has run its course. It was fun, but shake it up a little bit.
Yeah. As far as I think, if I remember right, that like the All-Star game is not. There won't be an All-Star game till 2029. I think is what I've heard. If they don't continue the Four Nations tournament,
that I didn't know about. I thought they were going with this from here forward, but if they do it again, then cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like right here it says the 4 nations for 2025, then the Olympics 2026, World Cup 2028, Olympics again.
Really? They're doing the
2030.
World Cup again? Hype. I didn't know that.
And then
I
World
did
Cup in
not know the World Cup.
2032.
And
I'm just pumped that they can finally have NHL players in the Olympics.
Yeah, that's going to be
Remember when that
exciting.
was a big thing.
Yeah. Hockey in
one
the
thing
Olympics,
that
the last 2 Olympics, that sucked.
Yeah, one thing that is going to suck though is a lot of the players that are on the Canadian World Juniors team from 18. They're not even going to be permitted to be in a lot of the like the Olympics or the World Cup pretty much thing that they do.
Yeah.
So that cancels a lot of like good players that are in the league right now. Like I think Makar is one of them. I think Robert Thomas is one of them. Yeah. And there's a few others that they said that weren't going to be able to participate. And
didn't they do in North America U21? What was that team? That was the North American team in the first World Cup.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So maybe they'll do that again for the World Cup. Obviously, they'll be out for the Olympics.
Yeah,
if they do like a U24 team for North America, that would be good. Because on both sides of the ball there, Canada and the U.S., those junior teams are very exciting to watch. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like it too when the Canadian teams lose and they're like, "Oh, well, it's over. No one's gonna win," because usually Canada dominates in the World Cups. I actually do like. I know it's a little off topic, but not really. I like actually when they went to like Sweden and stuff. I am kind of pumped to see if they're gonna do more of those kind of like NHL games in like those European countries.
Oh, they usually do. Yeah, they usually do every year. I think that's where they change every year, but I feel like they always open. I know the Rangers did it many moons ago when Hank was still there and stuff, but I feel like they always open in some capacity in a foreign area.
Yeah, it's usually the earlier in the season or preseason type of the year when they go over to there. I know they did Australia.
Yes.
Yeah.
This past season, right, with LA and Arizona. So it's kind of like doing what the NFL does. They're trying to expand, basically just expand their reach. So
they will definitely succeed. That's for sure over the NFL.
Yeah, hopefully. Any final thoughts before we head out tonight?
No, it was pretty awesome to be on this show. It's good to talk regular hockey besides our Blue Shirts banner. It's always good to talk about other teams. Yeah, whenever you guys ever want to come on Blue Shirts banner, I know I just looked at the schedule. The Blues come to the Rangers in March. If you guys,
I'd be down to do a show with you guys because I host the Blues Notes show with one of our other guys. So yeah, if you guys want to do a show together, whenever the Blues and Rangers have something together, I'd be down to come on a show with you guys.
Yeah, sounds like a plan to me.
Yep. And Jimmy Vesey's 10-0-1 whenever he scores for the Rangers.
Had an empty netter tonight. Was going to announce it live on the pod, but we were mid-conversation. Didn't want to interrupt.
It was a nice 2-0 win over the Flames, right?
It was hairy for the first period and a half, and then we went on top, and I'm like, all right, cool, we're coasting.
Yeah, can't go wrong with that. Looks like the Devils are up on the Kraken 3-1. Philly took care of business with Arizona. Then you got the Golden Knights and Wild to finish off tonight.
Yep.
Around the league for you. So yeah, guys, I appreciate you coming on. Hopefully we can make this more of a regular thing. And
absolutely,
and
definitely,
we'll see where it goes. Hopefully, possibly on Monday nights.
If
that works. So again, thanks, Brandon. I appreciate you coming on too.
Of course,
it was fun. So for myself, Brandon, along with the other Brandon, Jerry, Aaron, and Josh, who's no longer with us now, we'll catch you on the next episode of the Fivefold.